Hey, what's cracking? How you doing today? I hope this video finds you on top of the world. If this is the first time you've ever checked out one of my videos, I always like to say at the beginning that if you don't like the way your day's going or the way your mind's running, man, you can change it just like you would if a song was playing on the radio you didn't like. And I know it seems like a load of crap, man, but maybe things aren't going your way. You're arguing with your significant other, or the kids, or your parents, or your boss, or maybe things just aren't going your way and you're having one of those days where you spill your coffee in your lap and everything else. So if you're having a day like that, you can change the way your perspective is on the day. Because if you walk around feeling like you can conquer the world, you might be able to. But if you walk around feeling like you can't, you certainly won't. And so I like to take a few seconds to think about a few ways in our life that we're blessed. Whether it's someone who loves you, whether it's a job you have, food you got in your belly, a roof over your head. Man, if you're breathing, you're one of the lucky ones. And when you stop to think about things that way, it changes your perspective on the day, and that changes the way your day goes. So I always like to ask people to stop and do that. My name is Ricky Dye, and I went to prison when I was 15 years old. And I was there for 20 years, 5 months, 29 days. Flat prison time. That wasn't my sentence. My sentence was 22 years, and I almost did all of it. It was 34 with 12 suspended, so 22 in and 12 out. If you Google Ricky Dye in McLeod, Oklahoma, I'll come right up. But try to remember, you can't believe everything you read. So what I've been trying to do is use my story and the things that happened to me, and maybe help some other kid, maybe not make the same mistake, and save some other families and other victims' families. And that's what these videos are all about. So if you agree with that message, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. If you don't want to be bothered with it, you can always turn the notifications off. Most important thing to me is that you share it on your social media. Even if you don't want to listen, man, maybe you'll find some kid that will. And maybe, just maybe, you can stop one from doing it. And this it's gone along. It's kind of started to evolve into its own thing, man. And I have some other friends on my Facebook list, several, black and white, but I never say they're my black friends. They're just my friends. Their color doesn't come into it, man. With me, it's the way a man carries himself. It has nothing to do with what color he was born. Um, and so I have friends on my Facebook list that I was in prison with, but both black and white guys. And I think I'm going to ask those guys to come on and talk about their story and how it affected their life and what got them where they went, and how maybe just do some short videos like that. And I'll always post my story on Mondays and Thursdays, but maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday I'll throw extra video in and I have those guys as guests. And if you have any questions, I always ask you to ask them, and I'll be sure to do a video on that. A guy asked me to do a video on the gangs and stuff because it seemed like all the Indians he knew that went in and come out ended up Indian brotherhoods. And so I'll do one on that soon. Also, there was a girl that asked me a lot. She had a guy that was in prison, a friend of hers, trying to stand by him, and asked me what she could do for him. And when it come time for him to ship to different places, she couldn't get any information or anything. And I can remember when I went, how hard it was for my mom every time I went somewhere to figure out where I was at, what was going on with me, and what she could do, and how could she get in touch and help me. And there's really no information like that out there. And unfortunately, if you make a mistake and go to prison, your family pays for it just like you do. My mom has post-traumatic stress just like I do, even though I was the one in prison. And that's what it's like, man. So here soon, I'm going to try to figure out how to set up a Discord. And it'll be for people in the prison system, families of people in the prison system, where they can go and ask questions. And when they find out the answers, they can post the answers up there. And so you'll be able to ask questions and also answer other people's questions. And maybe if we all get together, it can make it a little easier on the families of the people in prison. Because you'll find answers to things other people will need to know. So I'm not real tech savvy, but I will figure out how to do that soon. I can figure things out when I put my head to it, and I will. And I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel, everyone who has made a comment. And as I said, if this is my first video that you've watched, I've been going through from the very beginning. If you go back, you can see everything about my crime. I talk about that and where I went step by step. And right now, I'm in McAllister. And I'm on the F2 run. The F cell house is what it's called. This building, it's about as long as a football field. Just one long run, and you've got cells on both sides, and they're all bars, just like you would see on TV. And F1, or the bottom run, the bottom floor, it is for people who have mental handicaps. And F2 run is where I'm at, and that's for people who are there on orientation. They've just got to Oklahoma State Penitentiary, and they're waiting to go down to what's considered general population on A unit or C unit, which are another two buildings. It's called going down the hill. But I haven't went down there just yet. I'm about to go down there, and I plan to jump down there. But before I do, I've just got into a fight with a guy naked in the shower. He's trying to move in with me, but he's ended up down the hill and ends up killing some other kid. And now my cell partner was just there from a medium security. He came over there for a couple weeks to set up the computer systems because computers were just coming in, just starting to use computers. And he came in and set it up. Now he's about to leave. So now that he's seen what almost happened to me with this Indian guy that I was going to get moved in with me, he has been trying to help me find somebody to move in with me. So ends up being there's a guy, his name is Romo, and he lives down the run, and he's half Indian, half Mexican, and he's an older guy. He's been in prison a long time. Been in prison 15 years or so, and he's waiting to go down the hill too. I don't know anything about this guy, but my cell partner knew him from somewhere else, and he said, hey man, that guy's all right, move him in with you. He was a little guy, not a lot bigger than me, and he was an older guy, and he didn't seem like he was going to be a threat to me, so I decided, okay, I'd move him in with me. So he moves in with me, and I had to tell you about the way that we spent time on the F-Cell house waiting to go down the hill. Because while you're in the F-Cell house, you've just got there, unless the librarian brings some books around, you can order those, but it takes a couple weeks for them to get them. And when you get the books, they've been there forever, and they're missing pages and everything else. And you only can get a couple at a time, and usually they're little short books, romance novels and things that I could read in a day or two. So I really don't have anything to do. I have a Bible, but the only thing you can do is you and your cell partner can take turns standing at the bars, talking to the people across from you and catty corner from you and next door to you. And what you would do is they have mirrors about this size they sell in a canteen, about the size of a large cell phone or a small pad. And they're mirrors, and you can hold the mirror in the bars and see the guy holding the mirror in the bars next to you. So you have access to the guys on your left. Y'all can look in the mirror at each other. You have access to the guys on the right. You can look in the mirror at each other. There's a cell caddy corner that's across from the guys next to you on both sides, and then the guy across from you. And what we end up doing to pass time, back then you could have a box, a cardboard box, and that's what you kept your property in, your pants or your shirt, whatever it was you have, your underwear, your socks. So what we do is we tear this box up, and we set it out there on the run, long ways, and I tie a string on the middle of this side. The guys next to me tie a string on that corner. The guys on my right tie a string on that corner. Then the guys across from us, we get it over to them, and they tie a string. So I have a string. The guy across from me has a string. Both the guys next to me have a string. The guys across from them have a string. So 6 cells at one time have a string made out of torn up sheets that is tied to this big piece of cardboard. And we decide we're going to play poker. And they talked me into running the poker game. Now, the guy running the poker game, he is responsible for who he gives money to. So if you're playing across from me and you want to check out $5, I'll write you down for $5 and I give you $5 in chips. And when we get draw down, you get to draw down $40 every 2 weeks back then. You could draw $40 in canteen every 2 weeks. You could draw tobacco. You could draw little things to eat like soups and Debbie's and stuff. Juice boxes, hygiene stamps. Excuse me. So whoever checks it out, they can get up to $40 in credit. And once they get to 40, they're circled. They can't get any more. That's all they can get. And you're taking everybody's word that they're going to pay whenever draw day comes. Okay? But I'm banking on the fact that this is McAllister. And in McAllister, people do what they say. Because if they don't, I think you'll stab them. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what if all these guys decide I'm not going to stab nothing? Am I going to get a knife and stab all these guys? What am I going to do? But I'm already in the middle of it. They've done talked me into this. I don't know how I got talked into that. My cell partner had a lot to do with talking me into doing it. Telling me he was going to help me run it and he would back me up. Nobody would dare cheat. It's McAllister. So we come up with the idea that the way we're going to play is you got to hold your hands outside. You pull this piece of cardboard over to you and you get your cards off. You leave the deck as always in the middle of the cardboard so everyone can see the deck. You pick up your cards. The dealer will shuffle them up outside the bars in front of everybody, cut them in front of everybody. Then you deal each person's card to their string. Then each person will this piece of cardboard to their cell in order, just like you're at a poker table, and pick their cards up, and you keep your hands outside your bars. And when you place a bet, you take the money from on the bottom set of your bars, because there's, bars like this, but there's slats across it. So you take the money off the bottom slat and place it on the top slat. That money has been bet. So I bet, and this guy, it's up to him to bet, and he can either bet and put his money up there, or he can take his cards and lay them over here, and that means they're dead. He's out. Okay? But if any of you have ever played poker, if you've ever went to a poker game for the first time, and I figure I'm pretty sharp at catching on to things, man. I know what the best hands are. I understand pretty soon. They can explain to me how the game is played, and I understand that pretty quick. But if you've ever tried to go to a poker game for the first time, let alone a situation like this, you you have a hard enough time figuring out what you got without trying to watch everyone else. And I worried about some guys not paying maybe, and me having to cover that. But really, what never crossed my mind is that all of them would be in on it together. Blacks, whites, Indians, everyone would be out to get me. But that's what's going on. So they've got me up there. They've talked me into doing it. And they have no intention of trying to hurt me or anything. They just try and take my money, man. They see my mom's been sent me money for TV. She got money on my books. I'm drawing down $40 every time. These guys ain't got no money. They're playing. They don't even have to get no money to draw down. They're just guaranteeing, betting on the fact that they're going to be able to win. And they did. For a few months, man. They had me, I was drawing down my 40 and passing it out. And plus I was sending money to my celly. He was drawing down 40. I was giving it out. And then I was sending money to some other people because they won. I'd send them money to their books to clear what I owed them because I couldn't draw that much down. So they were just working me, man. And it went that way for 3 months. And I didn't understand what they were doing. They had no intentions of trying to run me off or scare me into leaving. They were trying to befriend me so they could get my money. And sometimes it goes that way. Sometimes you'll have a guy hit the yard and everybody will think he's a piece of crap and everything, but they won't run him off. Instead, someone will protect him for his money, to get his money. And there'll be an understanding that nobody messes with that dude because he's someone's cash cow. So I didn't realize that's what was going on. Cost my mom quite a bit of money because I was in McAllister. There's no way she was going to leave me hanging, man. If I owed it, she was going to make sure I had it to pay it. And I was wrong for doing that, but I was so scared of even being there, man. And so I had to ask my mom to let me kill myself and everything. But she absolutely said she wouldn't agree to that. And so it got to the point that every night I laid there so afraid someone was going to kill me, especially after fighting naked in the shower. I was so afraid someone was going to try to rape me, someone was going to kill me that was too big for me. I couldn't let people run over me. I had to be careful what was said between everyone out there. We call it on the run because it was the run between the cells. But you have always 6, 8 people standing up there at those bars looking at each other. There's nothing else to do. So everyone hangs out at the bars talking. And if someone says something sideways to you, you got to do something about that. So you want to be real careful what's said. And you got to try to stand up for yourself, but not overly much. You can't act like you're real tough because then someone else will be offended. It's a terrible position to be in. In other places, you have more access to each other. So there is a better chance that you'll get into a fight. But at McAllister, you're not in access to each other as much, so there's not as good a chance of fight. But the chances are, if you get into it with someone, they're going to sit and stew on it. It's not going to be a fight. You're only going to be around each other a few minutes. Someone's going to try to stab you and kill you, man. At other places, you get hurt. Some places that are rough, you might get stabbed. But in McAllister, you'll get killed. And it's a very dangerous place. The most dangerous place I've ever been. And I couldn't imagine a place being more dangerous. You have to walk on eggshells all the time. It doesn't matter how tough you are. If you're really tough, it might be worse for you. So it's terrible, man. And I hope that you never make a mistake that will land you there. But no matter what you do in your life, no matter how bad your life seems to you, I also want you to know that as long as you're alive, it can always get better. And in the next video, I'm going to go down the hill to Seaside. I said that last time, but I forgot to talk about what we did while we were up there. So I wanted to talk through that. So they took advantage of me a lot, took a lot of money from me, but I always paid everything. And everybody was acting like they were making friends with me, but really it was all to get me to play cards, take my money. And fighting in the shower naked, proving I hit that guy, that it really didn't help me out much, because other places you get in a fight, stand up for yourself, kind of show something, because other guys don't want to get in trouble fighting you or whatever, because they might end up McAllister. But once you get to McAllister, they're already there, and they really don't have nothing to lose. They're in the worst place there is, and a lot of the people there, they don't have to be. You don't have to do anything to offend them. They'll hurt you just because they want to. So all my nightmares, that's where I am, is in McAllister, every single one. So hope and pray you never end up there. I'll catch you in the next video. Hope to see you there. May God keep you and yours. Peace out.